Hi, everyone. Dr. Tim, and another session of Dr. Tim's Aquatics podcast, questions and answers. And we've got a lot of them. We're not going to get through them all, but we'll do another session. So let's just start. So my tank's been up and running, cycled for about 8 weeks now, 10 to 12 weeks total. After stocking with a couple of clowns and a bubble tip anemone, I was reading a high phosphate level of 0.5. So I did a large water change, 30-40%. After that water change, my levels dropped to 0 across the board, no ammonia, no nitrate, or phosphorus. The tank looks great, but further reading has suggested I'll be in trouble with dinoflagellates or cyanobacteria if I don't get the levels up. That's correct. Long term, several months at no phosphate, no nitrate, and basically you're going to get dinoflagellates. And that's because you can't grow the bacteria in the water column, but you're still going to have nutrients because dinoflagellates, well, they are photosynthetic for one, so that's where they get their energy. And then secondly, they can get the phosphate and the nitrate they need from the organics that are going to accumulate in your substrate and actually feed on those organics. Also, dinoflagellates have this thing called vampirism, and they can actually put a tube out and suck out the cellular contents of bugs and microorganisms and bacteria that are living in the substrate. So when you make the water column pure, so you can't grow any bacteria, you basically open the field up for dinoflagellates. Now, why would you get cynos? Well, if your phosphate level rises up and your nitrates stay down, cyanobacteria get their nitrate from air. They're disatrophic is the technical term, scientific term. And basically, they can get their nitrogen needs from the dinitrogen, N2, that's in air. And since the air is dissolved in water, it's not pure oxygen, actually, it's air. 78% of the air is nitrogen. They can get their nitrogen needs from the nitrogen that's dissolved in the air and the water. Okay, so get your nutrients up. What levels? Phosphate should be about 0.03 to 0.05. Nitrate should be around 7 to 10 milligrams per liter nitrate nitrogen. Okay, thanks for that question. Number 2. If I have a bacterial population established in a saltwater quarantine tank using salt water, one and only, will that population be adversely affected if the tank is soaked in fresh water for 10 to 30 minutes as part of the quarantine process? The tank has bivalves and glass marbles to provide surface area. Great question. And the answer is, surprisingly, no. I showed this in a paper I wrote way back in the 90s, and then recently a group out of Germany kind of repeated the things and expanded upon it, did a lot more work. But they took freshwater nitrifying bacteria and changed them to salt water, and they showed that at about 5 parts per thousand, definitely at 10 parts per thousand, the freshwater bacteria crapped out. But the saltwater bacteria, they could go all the way down basically to 1 or 2 parts per thousand. Basically, they could live in fresh water fine. And for 10 or 30 minutes, they're going to do fine. So you're not going to ruin your nitrifying bacteria if you go from salt to fresh. That's why we get questions where people say, I mistakenly bought my salt water one and only, and I put it in my freshwater tank. Do I have to start over? And the answer is no. You'll be fine. So saltwater bacteria, saltwater one and only bacteria can do fine in freshwater. Freshwater one and only bacteria do not do fine in saltwater. Number 3, I used your one and only cycling solution 1 week ago. It said to remove the activated carbon. When do I add the carbon back to the tank? The tank is 1 week old today. Well, there's nowhere on the directions that we say remove activated carbon. So I'm not sure about that. You don't have to. You have to remove the micron filter sock, not the filter. You want to keep the filter running, the water pump. You need water movement. If you have a sponge, a fuzzy pad, bivalves, bacteria, the nitrifying bacteria want to stick to something, you got to provide that. You got to get them in the water column, stir them up a little so they can find surfaces to stick to. Activated carbon is a fine surface. We do not say remove the activated carbon, so you can put it back immediately. And going forward, if you're starting up your tank, you turn off the skimmer for 48 hours. You turn off the ozonizer and the UV for 48 hours. Turn off that roller filter because they're quite popular now. Turn that off for 48 hours. And if you are using a micron filter sock, which is very common in sumps, remove that for 48 hours. All right. Thank you very much. Hello. I'm setting up a freshwater aquarium. I'll be following your recipe for cycling, and I wanted to know if I need to add any ammonia as I'm using aqua soil. What if the ammonia is above the recommended levels? Should I do a water change or just wait it out for it to drop alone, it being the ammonia? Also, what is the pH threshold? Should I still do a 25 to 30% water change when the pH drops below 7? So, aqua soil is a special planting soil, and it does two things. It lowers the pH. It also can leach ammonia into the system. So, low pH ammonia, this is going to be a tough tank to cycle. Why? Because the bacteria don't work well in low pH, high ammonia systems. What I would recommend, if you're going to add some type of special soil to the system, get the tank all set up, get it running and everything. Then take your test kit and measure ammonia. Do you have ammonia in the system? If you have ammonia in the system, don't add any ammonia drops. Next, check your pH. Now, if your pH is below 7, and with aqua soil in most waters, maybe not out here in Southern California because we've got really buffered water, but if you used, mixed it up with some deionized or RO water or whatever, but anyways, measure your pH. If the pH is 6.5, 6, like that, you're going to have a tough time. It's going to take a long time to cycle that aquarium. And so you're just going to have to be patient. You've chosen to make it more of a plant system and use that special soil. So you're going to have to be very patient. It is not going to take 10 days. It's probably going to take 3 or 4 weeks or more at that low pH to get this tank cycled. Now, the good news is because you're going to be adding plants and they'll remove ammonia, what I would do is don't add the plants yet. You shouldn't add ammonia to tank full of plants. So cycle without plants first. But go to 1 drop, not the 4 drops we say. Go to 1 drop when you're cycling your tank at first and cycle with that. If that gets going pretty well, go up to 2 drops. Then I would stop there. Once you're there, then you're going to start adding your plants and decorate, and you should be fine. Now, do you have to do water changes? Well, water changes, what are you changing the water with? This is a tough question because if you're changing the water just to dilute the ammonia, the aqua soil is going to put the ammonia back in there. So you're kind of wasting your time. And you don't want to really get the pH up because the whole purpose of this, what you're trying to set up, I'm assuming, is to have a low pH tank because then more of the carbon, the inorganic carbon, is in the form of CO2, which the plants want. So basically, you're just going to have a lot of patience to cycle a tank using special soils with a low pH. Right? Number 5, for freshwater tank, using your method with remineralized RO water and contra soil is possible. pH is 6.0 steady at day 4 now. So again, that question is pretty much like the previous one. You're using a special soil that keeps the pH at 6. So what's going to happen is the bacteria are working very slow because the ammonia is in the ammonium NH4 phase. Remember, total ammonia, that's the NH3 plus the NH4 plus. That's total ammonia. The ratio depends upon the pH. Once your pH is below 7, almost 100%. Basically, 100% of your total ammonia is in the ammonium NH4 plus phase, and the bacteria don't use that. It can't diffuse into the cell wall. So they're going to be really slow. If you are in a hurry, then you're going to have to add more bacteria. It's a numbers game. You're just going to have to add more of the one and only nitrifying bacteria, increase their numbers, each one of them working very slow, but you have, billions and billions working slow, you can get it done. Or, as I said in the previous question, you're going to have patience. There's no way around it. You've kind of chosen this environment, low pH with a special soil. Keep the ammonia down. Don't add ammonia drops. You definitely don't want that ammonia to spike up into 4, 5, 10, so keep that ammonia down low. And that's, I guess I should maybe correct or preference my don't do water changes. If the aqua soil or the contra soil, the special soil you're using is taking the ammonia off the track, just off scale, then yes, you should do water changes because the super high ammonia, the tank is going to take months to cycle. So you're going to have to just do water changes to get that ammonia down and then get the bacteria to pop in. Okay. Next question. Your one and only with ammonium chloride cycling a tank has good reviews online. Is there a button here? Teachers I help raise salmon eggs to fry may not have set up a tank 2 weeks before getting eyed ready to hatch eggs. Will the process in your recipe harm eyed eggs with gold rims or Alvin sac fry already in the tank when the process begins? There will be only protein from eggshells, no fish waste or food in the tank. I'm concerned about sudden, brief doses of ammonia. Tank temperatures about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So basically, this is the trout in the tank system, which is great. Teaches kids lots of different things. Trout in the classroom, it's 50 degrees. That's really cold. If you're going to do this with the ammonium chloride, I would, again, 1 drop, keep it low, like 0.05 milligrams per liter. But trout and salmon do not like ammonia. It's not a really good setup to have any ammonia in the system like that. You do not have to add ammonia. I mean, the bacteria will work. If any ammonia comes into the system, the bacteria are very patient. So actually, I wouldn't add any ammonia. I would add the one and only. I'd add your sac fry. Like you say, you're not feeding much. There's not much protein to be converted into ammonia. And the bacteria will be very patient. If any ammonia shows up, they'll take care of it. Same with nitrite. So if you're doing this system with the trout in the classroom tank, do not cycle with ammonium chloride. Just add the bacteria. You can do a fission cycle. People do that all the time. And you should be fine, right? So don't add ammonia. Just add the bacteria. Number 7. So a buddy was helping me take notes to cycle my tank for the first time. Wanted you to confirm this is right steps to take, or if you would add or remove everything. I have a 55-gallon tank. Add 220 drops of ammonia, okay? Add 11 capfuls of API stability. Really? 1, API is not stability. Stability is CChem. And why are you asking me? Come on, folks. No. No, you don't API, no CChem. You're going to add Dr. Tim's Aquatics. You want this to work, you're going to add one and only. This is the Dr. Tim's Aquatics podcast, not the Stability and API podcast. So yes, I would take away that stability. I'd add some real nitrifying bacteria, the Dr. Tim's one and only nitrifying bacteria. You can download our step-by-step, day-by-day guide, and you'll be fine. Next question. Unbelievable. Hello. I'm on day 14 of the process, assuming this is a cycling process. pH is steady at 8. Ammonia has dropped to 0 for the last 3 days, and nitrites are constant at 2.0. I've added ammonia only 2 times at the beginning of the process on day 1 and day 5. I also performed a 25% water change on day 11. This is a 65-gallon Red Sea Reefer G2 Plus. Do I need to be patient for a long period, or is there something else that can be done? Well, what's the question? Not really sure what the question is here. You've added ammonia. Okay, so nitrite at 0.2. That is the ion form. So divide that by about 4. So your nitrite's about 0.5. Your ammonia is 0. I would add ammonia a third time. I'd do a water change and add fish. You're almost there. You have to remember that when we talk about ammonia nitrite, we're talking ammonia nitrogen or nitrite nitrogen. Unfortunately, most test kits are measuring the nitrite ion. So to convert, and there's a table on our website, basically divide the nitrite by about 4. So you're fine. You're almost there. You should always be patient when it comes to an aquarium, but you're add some more ammonia, wait another couple of days until the ammonia drops. I doubt you'll see the nitrite go up, and then do a small water change. Don't disturb the gravel. Don't change the filter. Add some fish and corals and start enjoying your tank. Hello, I read your blog and I'm a bit confused. Sorry about that. I started cycling a fishless tank with plants about 10 days ago. For the past 3 days, ammonia has been 0 to 0.25, nitrite's been 2, and nitrate between 5 and 10. Should I add ammonia or wait until both ammonia or nitrite are below 1? Well, I'm not sure what the confusion is. We say if the ammonia basically is below 2 and the nitrite is below 2, that you can add it. And you're right there. Ammonia is 0.25, nitrite's 2. You're within the range. Add some more ammonia drops. Now, with plants, though, I would only add 1-2 drops per gallon. Rather cycle without plants because high ammonia can damage your plants, but they're in there. So just reduce the amount of ammonia that you're adding, 1 or 2 drops instead of the normal 4 drops. Okay, should be fine. You're almost there. Number 10. Hello, I've been cycling my tank with Dr. Tim's for about 16 days now. My ammonia has finally reached 0, but my nitrites have remained high at about 5 for the last 5 days. I do also have nitrates going between 40 and 50. Is there something I'm missing or just more time to hope nitrites fall? Well, you don't have to hope nitrites fall. Nitrites are going to fall. Now, with this, though, see, we don't know whether it's freshwater or saltwater. And the importance there is what's the pH? Because for this person, if the pH was really low, I would say, you've got to do a water change. In fact, I would say do a water change anyways with this, but don't disturb the substrate. Anytime you're doing a water change, when you're first setting up and cycling your tank, do not disturb the substrate. Why? Because that's where the nitrifiers are. They're not in the water. They're on the substrate, in the substrate. So change the water from the top of the tank. Don't siphon clean. Don't clean any of the filtration pads or anything like that. Let the nitrifiers get going. So what I would do in this case, see, it's been 16 days. We don't know how many times they've added ammonia. Nitrite is high. I'm guessing this is a low pH tank, so I would definitely change some water and let the system run some more. Okay. Hello. Number 11. Hello, I'm doing the Dr. Tim's fishless cycling for saltwater, and today is day 14. My ammonia is at 0, but my nitrite is 2. Should I do a water change? Should I add more beneficial bacteria, or should I wait? Okay, so we know this is a saltwater tank. Day 14 is a little long. We're going to assume the person has added ammonia only once. So what's going on here? Kind of hard to say. At this point, I would ask, are you using live sand? Live sand, it's okay to use, But live sand is going to extend the cycle. It is not going to shorten the cycle time. It's going to extend it. So in this case, ammonia 0, nitrite 2, I'd add a few more nitrite drops and you just be patient. Now, I mean, should you add more beneficial bacteria? If you're in a hurry, add more beneficial bacteria. If you are patient, you have patience, then you can let it ride and the bacteria will grow. It just kind of depends on how fast you want to get things going. Hello, my daughter has celiac disease, and unfortunately, I can't find any fish food here in Canada that's gluten-free, so she can enjoy feeding the fish and maintaining the tank with me. I was wondering if you sell gluten-free fish food in Canada. Well, we sell our beneficial do-it-yourself frozen food, which is gluten-free. Now, that said, I can't guarantee that the ingredients weren't made in a factory, processed in a factory that's 100% gluten free. So I don't want to come across and say it's absolutely safe for everybody. That we don't know that, just to tell you the truth. But we do make a do-it-yourself frozen food. You take one of our pouches, you microwave like an ounce of water for about a minute and a half till it starts to boil. Add a pouch, stir it up for 2 minutes, pour it into the tray, put the tray in the freezer. 2 hours later, you've got 90 cubes of frozen fish food with no binders, no fillers, just all the good stuff. And that's what I can suggest. But I cannot 100% guarantee that, gluten-free factory and everything like that. Hello, I'm trying to do a fishless cycling and I'm on day 5. I put 40 drops of ammonia, 10-gallon tank, so 4 drops per gallon, and a bottle of one and only. Since then, every day I've been reading sky-high ammonia readings, 8 parts per million and 1 to 2 parts nitrite. Since your recipe card says not to add ammonia or such when the ammonia is high, I haven't touched it. Should I leave it alone, measuring every day, or should I do water changes? I can add more bacteria if need be. Well, it's kind of strange. I don't know why this is stuck there and how you got to 8. But yes, you should do a water change because 8's too high. And yes, you could add some more bacteria. Those would be the 2 things that you could do. And then I would ask again, is this a live sand tank? Because live sand can add ammonia. So this is a good time to say, if you are going to use live sand in your setup, that's fine. But what you should do is set the tank up, let it run for 24, 48 hours, and then measure ammonia before you add the ammonia drops, because the live sand can add ammonia. So you've got a live sand adding ammonia, and then you go ahead and add ammonia drops, and now you've got really high ammonia values, and it takes longer to cycle to get going on that. So if you're going to do live sand, measure ammonia before you add any ammonia drops. Number 14. Hi, I'm about to use Dr. Tim's one and only and cycle a 75-liter tank. See the 2-ounce bottle does over that. And my question is it beneficial to use all the bacteria or should I use just the amount to cover 75 liters? Thanks. I think you should use it all. The bacteria are not wine. They do not get better in a bottle. So unless there's some reason that you want to save that bacteria, I would add it all, get it going. Like I've said many times, it's a numbers game. The more bacteria in the beginning, the faster your tank is going to cycle. That don't do you any good in the bottle. So shake it up, pour it all in, and get going. I have a Red Sea Nano Max XLG2 at home, ready to be cycled. I'll be installing live sand, live rock, and Nutra seawater in the coming days. I'm ready to read the doctor's prescription document, but also looking at another page And I just wanted to make sure I do the first 24 hours correctly. Do I add the sand, rock, water, turn on the heater, skimmer, circulating pump for 24 hours, and then add the ammonia nitrifying bacteria, or once the water is filled, then turn off some equipment? Thanks. I wonder what the other page you're reading. So, general way to do this is add the live sand, add the live rock. I like putting the rock on the bottom and then the sand around that, up to you. Get the neutral water, seawater going, get your pump going, get all your equipment going. Make sure it's running first. And don't add the bacteria. Don't do anything. Just get it all set up, run it. Run it for 24 to 48 hours. Like I said, with the live sand, definitely you want to run it for a little bit. Get the skimmer running, because I'm sure with the live sand, there was just junk and gunk in the water. It's not looking all that clean, and the skimmer will remove that. If you have the roller filter, you can run that. You haven't added the bacteria yet. You're just cleaning the system up, making sure everything's running. Get the heater going so it's at the right temperature and everything like that. You're happy? Okay. Now, you've added live sand, you let it say run 48 hours, do an ammonia test. If you have ammonia, then subtract. If you have 1 milligram of ammonia, then reduce the number of drops that you're adding. Each drop is roughly 1 milligram per gallon. So basically, reduce it by a drop, or start with just 1 or 2 drops per gallon instead of 4. Turn off the skimmer, turn off the roller filter. UV, ozone, they're off too. Micron filter cartridge, take that sucker out. Now add your one and only nitrifying bacteria. You still have the pump running. You're still circulating things through your sump, through your biomedia, substrate, things like that. Let that run for 24 hours, okay? And then you can start measuring ammonia again. 48 hours after adding that, you can turn the skimmer, the roller filter, and all those different types of things back on. And that's the way to cycle. With live sand, you definitely want to be measuring ammonia on a regular basis, because you don't want to just blindly add ammonia. And that brings up a point. Why do I say that? Because we do get people commenting, well, I followed your prescription card and it says on, this day, that day, and the next day, add, 4 drops per gallon. Yes, but there's a but in there. The but is if your ammonia has gone down. You just don't blindly keep on adding ammonia. Every tank is different. Setups are different. We don't know what's going on. In many cases, you can add ammonia like the first day, the third day, and the 5th or 6th day, but not all cases. That's why you need a test kit to see where you are. You don't just want to keep on dropping ammonia into the system. Okay. Next question. I've been cycling a non-substrate quarantine tank, basically bare bottom, and I have performed a 5-gallon water change in my 10-gallon quarantine. My water is green and cloudy. I have put in clear cloudiness chemicals. and dechlorinator chemicals. I'm setting up a saltwater quarantine tank. It is going on 8 weeks and I need help. I have not placed any food to speed up the process. My desire is to start up cycling my display tank, as my fish will stay in quarantine for 6 weeks. Please help. So I think there's 2 things going on here. Why is your quarantine tank green and cloudy? It's got no substrate. Well, you're putting in all those chemicals, and the nitrifying bacteria could be feeding on those chemicals. Not real sure what's going on there. I don't like that it's green and cloudy. I would probably take all the water out, wipe down the sides and the bottom, and start over with that quarantine tank. Cycling tank. My desire is to start cycling. Well, yeah, start cycling. Follow the directions. I've gone through it in the talk. You can download the step-by-step directions. You can do 2 things at once. Get that quarantine tank cleaned up, but start cycling the display tank with ammonia. You've got 6 weeks, so you can take your time, go slow, and you should be ready to go. Okay. All right. Moving right along. So in your 2 videos, it says use 1 drop per gallon, but on your bottle it says 4. Which one is it? Okay, the videos are from 2007 and 8 when we first started, and they've got a lot of hits, and I don't want to take them down because the more hits they have the higher in the ranking so people can see them. But there's a pin, there's a tag there that says it's 4 drops. So use what the bottle says, 4 drops per gallon. Now, there's no really wrong way. You can use 1 or 2, drops, but not more than 4. Okay. Hello. I'm setting up a new tank, and this is the first time I've used your products. I'm messaging you because my ammonia went up to 4 with the first dosage, and now it's been at 2 for the past 7 days. Today is day 8, and the pH is 8. Ammonia is at 2. The rest are 0. The ammonia hasn't dropped, and I've only dosed the ammonia once. I do have live sand and live rock. There you go. Do I want to dose ammonia again, or should I wait till it drops to 0? Well, your ammonia is 2, so you're okay. I would add 1 drop per gallon here, kind of see what happens. If you add 1 drop, you'd expect it to go up to 3. If tomorrow you dose it and it's 2, add another drop it if it's 2. And if the ammonia is always registering 2, then I think that's kind of a suspicion that maybe there's something wrong with your test kit. If it's just always 2, it shouldn't always just be the same number. But then again, see, you've got the live sand, and the live sand prolongs the process because, one, as I mentioned, the live sand can add ammonia to the system. Two, which I hadn't mentioned yet, is the live sand has got organics. And organics mean you're going to start growing bacteria. Your tank might even be a little cloudy. Well, those heterotrophic bacteria that are breaking down the organics, they're taking micronutrients out of the water, and the nitrifying bacteria need those micronutrients. That's why I don't really like having competition for the nitrifiers in the beginning. People say, well, add all your nitrifiers and then add a bunch of heterotrophs for diversity. Well, you're trying to grow nitrifiers now. I've got a talk on YouTube about that, setting up your new tank and making it basically a bacteria tank at first, not so much a fish tank. And heterotrophic bacteria compete with the nitrifiers, and they slow the nitrifiers down. So I think that's what's going on here, especially with the live sand. Hi, I have a reef mat and protein skimmer that I turned off while cycling. As I stated prior, do I turn off my protein skimmer or wait until the cycling's complete? What are your recommendations? Well, our recommendation is quite clear. You shouldn't have the protein skimmer on for the first 48 hours after you add the bacteria. The protein skimmer is really good at removing the bacteria. You got to give the bacteria a chance to settle and find some surfaces to adhere to and stuff like that. So you did 2 out of 3. Unfortunately, the third one was the most important one. You've got the reef mat and the protein skimmer off. Hold, let me read this again. I have a reef mat and protein skimmer that I turned off. As I stated, no, I want to turn my skimmer. Okay, well, if it's day 8, maybe this question isn't clear. If it's day 8, you can turn your skimmer and your reef mat back on. It's only for the first 48 hours. So I'm sorry if I'm confusing the listeners. The question's kind of confusing to me. All right. 20. I was curious if this product contains copper sulfate or other chemicals that would be hazardous for aquatic shrimp. That's all it says. I don't know what product they're talking about, but none of our products have copper sulfate. There's a very minute part in the fish food, do-it-yourself fish food, because animals need copper, but not enough to harm shrimp. So, nope. 21. Is EcoBalance live in the same way One and Only is? Do I have to worry about temperature for shipping EcoBalance? Not really sure what you mean live the same way One and Only is. They're both bacteria. they're both alive. So I guess the answer is yes. And now the reason you don't have to worry about temperatures, though, is that ecobalance are heterotrophic bacteria that form spores that protect them from freezing. It's kind of like a cocoon that goes over. And what's happening when water freezes is you get these crystals, and the crystals can spear or puncture the cell wall. Nitrifiers don't form spores, and so their cell wall is easily punctured by freezing. Once the cell wall is punctured, that's it for the bacteria. So in that way, they're different, but so you do not have to worry about temperatures when shipping ecobalance. Next, I accidentally added the freshwater Dr. Tim's one and only 2-ounce to my saltwater tank all at once that I'm trying to cycle. Will it affect my water parameters at all? Will I be okay to add fish in the same water once cycled? I'm aware what I did will not help the cycle, but will it affect it? Okay, so there's no harm. You can add the freshwater bacteria. That's how we started out. The freshwater bacteria don't really work great, but it's not 100% pure. There's always some bacteria in there. So it's better than adding nothing. It's not going to affect anything. You don't have to stop. You don't have to tear down. You don't have to do massive water changes. Don't panic. Everything is going to be fine. So you'll be okay. Just don't know how much ammonia you added because you want to add fish once this in the same water one cycle. It doesn't matter with fish. That's the bacteria, and they'll do fine. And the bacteria that will form are saltwater bacteria, and you're going to add saltwater fish, so the fish doesn't matter. A couple of more. I have been doing a fishless cycling. I'm on week 9. I used Dr. Tim's ammonia drops, waited 2 days, and added Dr. Tim's nitrifying bacteria. Why'd you wait 2 days? Anyways, my tank cycled the ammonia to nitrites, but won't cycle nitrites to nitrates. They test water every day. Any help's appreciated. So it seems like a common theme here is people are getting nitrite buildup. So that generally happens when you use live sand. There's always that constant, a bit of ammonia, and that slows things down. Also, do you have filter media? And a lot of people just put sand, just very fine sand in the system, and they think the bacteria are going to colonize that. And that's not true. The nitrifiers need a place to stick to before they work. So I think in many instances, maybe they're not being stuck to. And even if some people say, well, I've got my biomedia in a bag and a sump. That's not going to work, folks. The water is going to go around that bag. Water is going to take the path of least resistance. You've got the bio balls or media, whatever it is, all in a bag. You're not using that very well. So that can be happening when there's consistent high, nitrites or just nitrites aren't cycling. It means the bacteria basically aren't happy. And why aren't they happy? Because they don't have a place to live. Next, I'm using Dr. Tim's method for cycling a new 30-gallon reef tank. Need help. I'm on day 5, and I'm not seeing a dramatic change. The parameters are falling. Oh boy, pH 7.7. That's new saltwater tank with pH 7.7 should be more like 8, 8.4. Ammonia 8 plus. Well, there you go. Nitrite 0.25, nitrate 10. I don't see any visual change in the tank sand bed, and the parameters have been the same for 5 days. Temperature 79 Fahrenheit. What went wrong? What do I need to fix this? Whatever issue is happening. Okay, so basically the ammonia is way too hot. I don't know how you got there. We don't have that information, but that's what's stuck. When your ammonia is at 8, things are going to go slow, really, really slow. So basically, you've got to do a big water change and get that ammonia down to at least 2, below 4. So 50%, 60% water change. Do not siphon clean. Just take water out of the system. I'd like to know how it got that high. If you're using live sand and just dosed, that can happen. There's a different ways that can happen, but definitely your ammonia is too high. And you're going to be waiting a long time for that system cycle. All right. Well, that's going to be it for today's question and answer period. We do appreciate your questions. We try to get to everybody. We'll do another one of these, of course. In the meantime, thank you very much and good fish keeping. This has been Dr. Tim and another Dr. Tim's Aquatics podcast question and answer. Take care.